What's up, guys? Ben here with Tactical Nutrition, and today I want to talk about how health is the only way to true freedom. So on this channel, I like to talk about obviously health, nutrition, fitness, ideas, but also mindset. But I'm also a big proponent of liberty and freedom, and not necessarily just in the legal sense as much as just the freedom to go about in life and do as you can with whatever it is you have. So one of the things I see with society today, is a lot of people impede their own freedom of movement, the simple, basic idea of movement. Now, I know a lot of people out there are already hindered in this regard, maybe in a wheelchair, quadriplegic, things like that. Special circumstances where you may not have the ideal movement, range of motion that other people do, but you can still, do what you can with that circumstance. You have to deal with what, life gives you, right? But what I'm talking about is when you let yourself become obese and morbidly obese to the point where it's like you can have difficulty walking up the stairs, you can't perform the simple athletic movement. It really kind of aches me to see that, because you're destroying one of the most foundational parts of what I would consider this life to be, which is that you can manipulate your body around the environment. We weren't put here to sit in a room. As I sit in a room, we weren't put here to sit in a room and not move and just watch TV or hook up the VR headset and just sit there, or just sit there playing video games, right? That's not what we were here for. I think we were here to learn things, but also we were given this huge, awesome world that we can go explore. We can hike mountains, and we can go swimming in lakes and streams and things like that, and go on, go on like long hikes, all these things. Go out, do all these crazy sports, snowboarding, wakeboarding, skiing, right? Jumping on trampolines, whatever it is. But when people just allow themselves to become so overweight that they can barely even walk and have trouble getting up the stairs, and, to me, that's just not freedom. You're almost creating your own prison, where you're the captive, but it's something that you control. And again, bouncing off the last video that I did about the medical system, I believe firmly that, health is, for the most part, in our control. 95% of it is. Definitely obesity and things like that are lifestyle-related diseases that have to do with our choices. So when you're disciplining yourself and you're making the proper food choices and you're making the sacrifices to make the movement, to go out and do the workout, to do the exercise, even if you don't want to, just for the fact that it's going to benefit you in the future and extend out your life and your ability to manipulate the environment. To me, that's one of the best, that's one of the best things you can do in this world. And I think that's living from a higher consciousness as well, living from a higher state of being, your higher self, instead of falling into gluttony and sloth like I see so many people do, where it just becomes, going from the next slop food, onto the next meal, to the next screen scrolling, to the next vice. I guess that's what it comes down to, is these vices create prisons. These short-term dopamine hits that we get stuck in. And it can be anything from the obvious: drugs, weed, alcohol, excess foods of the wrong kind, of course, watching too much screens, porn, addictions, things like that. They don't bring you true happiness at all. And I beg someone to tell me otherwise. Any one of these things, if you keep doing them, they get worse and worse, and you have to do it more and more, and you get to a point of numbness. And once you're at that point, now you're kind of in that prison where you have to escape. So it's better to discipline yourself and make the proper food choices and avoid the dopamine hits, the quick hits out there. And, you know, like down the line, your future self is it's gonna thank you tremendously. There's gonna come a time when you're free of the vices. We're never completely free, but you know, you're free of them to the point where you can make your own decisions, and you feel good, and you physically feel good, you look good, you look healthy, you feel healthy. These are things that are important. I'm kind of whispering in here because I'm in a hotel room and there's people all around me. But, you know, freedom is not just something where, you know, you're not in jail or you're able to travel around without some kind of corrupt government coming after you. Although that's important as well. Very important. Something we should fight for. And in fact, something that you should keep yourself in shape for, just in case you have to encounter something like that. You know, it kind of brings me on to another topic where you might find yourself in a position where you have to defend yourself physically and you don't have anyone else depend on you. If you're like totally out of shape and helpless, what are you going to do? You know, what if you have to help someone around you? What if you see something and you have to vault over a fence to get there? You see someone in distress that needs obvious help and you can't get down there. Things like that. You know, what is it Thomas Jefferson said? You know, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And I guess that's a great way to end this video, because that's not only just to do with the freedom of our country, which is always at risk, especially right now, but the freedom of your body requires eternal vigilance. Meal to meal, workout to workout, every minute to minute, hour to hour decision you make is going to ultimately decide if you have that freedom or if you're locked in your own prison cell. So anyway, guys, I got a busy day ahead of me. Keep it short. Hope that reached someone out there. Like, subscribe if you can. Share this with someone who needs it, needs the motivation. Leave your comment below. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.